Hi, everyone. My name is Carol Dunsmore, and I work in Harlequin's Toronto office, supporting our editorial teams in London and New York and Toronto. I'm the manager of author communications and events. And in the next half hour, I'm going to take you through some information to help writers understand more about Harlequin's romance publishing program. So I'm going to share my screen and we're going to get started. Okay, here we go. So over the next 30 to 35 minutes, I'm going to cover these topics. I'm going to talk about Harlequin's commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. I'm going to tell you about our Romance Includes You mentorship program and an upcoming opportunity starting in January. I'll take you through what is category romance to make sure that that's understood. And then I'm going to give an overview of our Harlequin romance lines. And then I'll offer some resources for getting started and how to submit, and some writing resources that are available on our website, writeforharlequin.com. So Harlequin is committed to publishing diverse and inclusive voices so that readers see themselves reflected in the books that we publish. We're looking to publish more stories by authors of all communities, cultures, and backgrounds, stories with LGBTQ protagonists, characters with disabilities and neurodiversity, for example. And this is true across Harlequin's romance lines. We're really working to increase diversity and representation amongst all the stories that we publish. We've been reaching out to writers through sessions like these, as well as conferences and writers groups that promote diversity in publishing. We have Romance Includes You story pitch events on Twitter that happen regularly. And we also have a mentorship and a scholarship program. We also reach out directly to self-published authors whose voice or style we think might work well in one of our romance lines. We welcome all authors to the Harlequin community, and we welcome everyone to submit their stories to us for consideration. And I'm going to tell you about how to do that in a few minutes. So I mentioned our Romance Includes You mentorship. This is a new mentorship opportunity for 2023. So starting on January 1st, we're accepting romance novel submissions from unpublished or self-published debut authors. We are particularly interested in stories by authors in underrepresented communities. The writer of the top submission will offer that candidate a publishing contract to publish their first book with Harlequin. We offer a writing grant as well as a 12-month mentorship with an experienced Harlequin editor to develop their romance story into a novel for publication under the Harlequin brand. So it's a fantastic opportunity for debut authors who are looking to publish their first romance novel with a commercial traditional publisher. We've had two debut authors successfully go through this program, Sarah Taino, who writes for Harlequin Special Edition, and Faye Ashampong, who's a British author, whose upcoming title will be published in Harlequin Romance next fall. If you're interested and would like more information, you can go to writeforharlequin.com. Right on the homepage, there's a story and a link that'll take you to more information. And I should mention that for this round for 2023, this opportunity is open to writers in Canada and the US. The previous one for 2022 was open to authors in the UK and Ireland. And for some very complex compliance and privacy compliance reasons, we can't offer it to authors everywhere in the world who are interested in it, but we try to move it around to different regions of the world for each separate opportunity. So the one coming up is for Canadian and US writers, and submissions open on January 1st, 2023. So what does Harlequin publish? Harlequin romance lines publish category romance stories. We have 11 different romance lines that each offer a distinct reader promise. We have a digital first imprint called Karina Press, that also publishes an imprint called Karina Adores. What's unique about Harlequin is our publishing model. So we publish a set number of books in each romance line or series, as we call them, on a monthly schedule. So for example, Harlequin Presents publishes 8 books a month, and Harlequin Romantic Suspense publishes 4 books a month. So every month, these new titles are available on shelves and through online retailers. For readers, they know that they can find new titles each month, and it keeps them coming back for the books that they love. So like magazines, these books are on the shelf for a month, and then a new batch of titles will replace them on the shelves, and they're available always through our online retailers and through harlequin.com. We publish almost 800 new titles a year, so about 60 a month. And we also sell to loyal readers through our book club and digital subscriptions. So let's talk about category romance and specifically what that is and how that might be different from other romance stories that you've written. The New York Times described Harlequin's category romances this way. They said they are slender for the same reason a shot glass is small, because what they contain is potent and intoxicating. And of course, intoxicating in the sense of being captivating for readers. We thought this was a great description because these stories are 50 to 70,000 words. They're short, they're fast-paced, and they're stories that always end with a happily ever after guaranteed. And that's really what readers love about them. These stories rely on classic romance tropes that readers love. So these, some examples would be opposites attract, second chance romances, marriage of convenience, that of course turns into true love, fake relationships, and so on. So there's always a trope in these stories. And in category romance, the plot and the story is about that central romance between the main characters. So they need to get together, really soon after the first page, if not on the first page. And the story is really about their journey through some obstacle or some conflict that is keeping them apart, so that they can have that guaranteed happily ever after at the end. We publish category romance in mass market paperback and ebook formats. We're always looking for new talent. There are many opportunities for writers, and we're always acquiring books for Harlequin's romance lines. So we acquire books from debut authors, from previously published and established romance authors as well. So here's a look at Harlequin's series romance lines organized by subgenres and the different styles that they offer. So Harlequin's different lines run the gamut from passionate to sweet, from suspenseful to historical, and more. There's a lot of variety in the style and the heat levels and the characters. So there's really something in Harlequin's series romance lines for every reader. So I've grouped them together here to make it easier to see what we offer to readers. So under the passion grouping would be Harlequin Presents and Harlequin Desire, which is transitioning to sort of longer contemporary sexy romance stories. I'll talk about that on the next slide. Under Suspense, we have Harlequin Intrigue and Harlequin Romantic Suspense. We have Harlequin Historical Romance. In our Hope and Inspiration group, there are 3 lines: Love Inspired Suspense, and Harlequin Heartwarming. In our Love and Life grouping, we offer Harlequin Romance, which is actually a specific series that we offer, Harlequin Special Edition, and Harlequin Medical Romance. And we also publish Karina Press. So these are different from our other series romance lines. They are published in trade paperback format and ebook. They are longer romances up to 125,000 words. And in Karina Press, we also publish Karina Adores for really fun, trope-driven romance stories with LGBTQ protagonists. So let's look at these in a little more detail. These covers give you a taste of the different styles and the variety in what we publish. You can see the differences between the luxurious Cinderella stories in Harlequin Presents, the smoldering sexy contemporary in our Desire line, and then the crime and thriller stories in Harlequin Intrigue and Romantic Suspense. So they all have a different characters and a different style. Harlequin Presents, which is on the left side of your screen, everything about these stories and this line is high. So it's high drama, high sensuality, high emotions, and high glamour. These are fairy tale and Cinderella romances that offer an escape to readers packed in 50,000 words. Our Desire line is for contemporary romance. As I mentioned, it's evolving. I'm going to talk about that in a moment. Harlequin Intrigue offers thrilling, action-packed stories with high stakes. So these are typically complex crime dramas where the characters work together to solve the case. So they might be police procedurals or involve investigators, detectives, or law enforcers. And as these characters work together, the attraction, the emotional and physical tension ratchets up as their relationship grows, and of course ends in that happily ever after ending that readers look for. These stories are 55,000 words. Romantic Suspense is a little bit different. These are heart-racing page-turners where ordinary people are thrown into extraordinary and dangerous circumstances. So it's different from the crime elements that are in Harlequin Intrigue. These are highly suspenseful stories with a present danger and a compelling romance story. They could be rescues, stories about protecting someone, characters in jeopardy, and revenge. And these are longer, a little bit more layered books. They are 70,000 words. Then that gives writers a bit more breadth to create that suspenseful situation and draw in our readers. So we're always evolving Harlequin's romance lines to reflect changing reader tastes, and Harlequin Desire is evolving into stories that editors are looking for now that are longer. They are 65 to 70,000 words. They are books that focus more on the characters, stories in which the characters experience the searingly spicy romances that they deserve. And whereas Harlequin Desire focused on the wealthy characters in the wealthy elite, these characters for these stories, editors are looking for characters that come from all walks of life, from blue collar to celebrity wealth. So real characters that take readers through the joys and the challenges of creating a happily ever after in today's world, involving some of the issues and the daily things that people face in life and these characters face in their stories. The heat level in these stories is high. Editors are looking for books that are hot and spicy and steamy. So if you write this type of romance story with this approximate word length, you might consider submitting it now through harlequin.submittable.com. On this website, you will see a submission box called New Sexy Contemporary, and that's where you can submit your story. You can do it directly. You don't have to have an agent to do that, but if you do have an agent and you prefer that your agent submits on your behalf, the contact information for our editors is right on that page. So harlequin.submittable.com is the place to go for where you'll find the more detailed writing guidelines than I've expressed in this slide. Let's talk about Harlequin historical romance. Obviously, these books are for fans of Bridgerton, Outlander, and Downton Abbey, and similar television series. You'll see that there's a variety here also in the different time periods that are reflected in these books. So our historical editors, they look for stories that are set across a wide range of historical periods, as you can see here, from ancient civilizations to Vikings to Highlanders, to dukes, the ever popular Regency and Edwardian periods, and right up to and including Prohibition eras, 1920s, as well as First and Second World Wars. So, you know, a lot of these books traditionally have been set in England, Scotland, places like that. But we're also looking for stories that are set in other countries. The story here, one cover that I have on the screen, A Blues Singer to Redeem Him, is set in the United States in the Prohibition era and sort of speakeasy setting. And the book on the right is set in the First World War. So these are longer stories at 70 to 75,000 words. And it's not just the typical Dukes and Highlander stories that historical romance readers might automatically think of. Editors are keen to explore diverse voices and perspectives on well-known time periods and historical romances with LGBTQ characters as well. So here is Harlequin Heartwarming, Love-Inspired, and Love-Inspired Suspense. So these lines fall into our hope and inspiration group. Contrary to popular belief, not all romance stories are sexy books. Some have no sex at all, and that is the case in these romance lines. As the name suggests, these lines are for inspirational and heartwarming romance. The books are for readers who enjoy a romance without sexual content, but still want a romance story that will give them that happily ever after ending that they're looking for. And it's also a chance to watch the characters falling in love, which is really enjoyable for readers. So Heartwarming is the one on the left with the green diamond. These are wholesome contemporary romances set in small towns and close-knit communities where the characters feel a strong sense of belonging. And these are slightly longer than some of our other series at 70,000 words. Love-Inspired and Love-Inspired Suspense are both contemporary romance lines, but they have a strong element of faith in these stories. They are uplifting. They typically focus on families and close-knit communities. And Love-Inspired Suspense adds, as the name suggests, a suspense element or a dangerous element to these stories. So these stories feature characters that are facing challenges to their faith or to their lives. Some of the themes that are very popular in these books right now are rescues and mountains, also dogs. We affectionately refer to these stories around the office as Dogs with Jobs, and our Alaskan Canine Unit series is a great example of these two hot trends coming together. So next, we have Harlequin Romance, Harlequin Special Edition, and Harlequin Medical Romance. So these we generally group into our life and love stories. These lines offer romance stories with relatable, down-to-earth characters falling in love. The heat levels vary in these lines. So I'm going to talk first about Harlequin Romance. This line is for whisk me away romances that are all about the heroine. They let readers step into the heroine's shoes and experience the rush of falling in love. They, in terms of settings, glamorous international locations are very common and typical of these books. They have, you know, they're heartfelt, they're very emotional, they're uplifting stories with high sensual tension matched by high emotional connections. And these stories are 50,000 words. The sensuality levels range from sweet and gentle to something a little hotter. And the editors are not looking for graphic sexual detail on the page, but they encourage writers to explore the emotional fulfillment that comes with growing intimacy and growing love relationships. Harlequin Romance has been doing a push for new authors recently. They're very interested in submissions from romance writers, including debut authors. And you can check out the submissions calls page on our writeforharlequin.com website. There and there is some more information that you'll find there about what they're looking for this line. So in the center of the screen, you can see Harlequin Special Edition. So this line features true-to-life characters experiencing the twists and turns on the journey to true love. These stories are also longer at 70 to 75,000 words. And you see a lot of that gives the writers more breadth in these stories, to allow you to see more of the characters' family, career and community and lives in these stories, right alongside the main characters who are falling in love. So still that central romance story needs to be there, but these stories are a little bit longer and more layered. They're filled with ranchers, military people, and families, for example, and not only families in the traditional sense. Harlequin Special Edition publishes LGBTQ romance stories that celebrate love for everyone. And I've put a title here. This is the second title by Rowan Parrish, published in the Harlequin Special Edition line. And this is a romance with LGBTQ protagonists. This is not exclusive to Harlequin Special Edition. Many of our romance lines are open to and interested in stories with LGBTQ characters. On the right side of the screen is Harlequin Medical Romance. For fans of Grey's Anatomy and New Amsterdam and similar series, we have romance stories that are set in hospitals, emergency rooms, and the high-pressure world of modern medicine. It features top-notch doctors and nurses, hotshot surgeons, fearless first responders, courageous midwives, and more. Harlequin medical romance can run from intensely passionate to warm and gentle. So you have that range of heat levels in these books as well, and they are 50,000 words. Carina Press is our digital first imprint. Sorry, just having trouble with my screen. There we go. Digital first imprint. They publish books first in ebook format with select titles in print and audio. Carina Press publishes a real wide variety of romance genres, from contemporary to historical, paranormal, fantasy, and more. These are compelling feel-good romances. The editors, they have a range of heat levels, I should mention, from tender to steamy, and the editors consider submissions between 50,000 and 125,000 words for publication. They will accept submissions directly from authors through harlequin.submittable.com or through agents. And they also publish Carina Adores for those tropey romances with LGBTQ protagonists. This line was launched in 2020 and has garnered a lot of attention amongst romance readers and book reviewers. And the stories in this imprint is 75,000 words and more. Romance stories have obviously been popular for decades, but I asked our editors about the kinds of romances that are catching their eyes right now and some of the things that they're looking for. So one of the things that they mentioned is female characters in male-dominated roles. In the heartwarming story that I'm showing here, she is the firefighter and instead of the cute guy that she's with. So another example of this is that we're publishing a historical romance novel with a 19th century female train engineer, which would definitely not have been a typical profession for a woman in that era. Non-traditional characters and families are also interesting to editors, and stories with inclusive characters. So we want to make sure that we're publishing romance in which everyone sees themselves reflected and represented. So this could be, for example, neurodivergent characters who might be misunderstood in a relationship, characters with disabilities falling in love, characters of all backgrounds, communities, romances with LGBTQ characters. So these are just some examples of ways that we're working to increase diversity and representation in our romance lines. Stories with pets are very popular, mostly dogs, but surprise us. Cute and cuddly kitties are also welcome. And these stories just add a warm and fuzzy element to romance stories that can be a nice additional hook and layer for readers. Since I have heartwarming on the screen here, I just wanted to offer a few more things that editors for this group mentioned to me. Fresh takes on classic tropes. So friends to more than friends, first love reunions, person next door, marriage of convenience. This is, really true of all of our romance editors and lines, that they're looking for fresh takes that bring, really new and interesting hooks to classic tropes that draw readers in. For Harlequin, they're definitely looking for Western stories and holiday stories. So these could be Thanksgiving stories like the cover you see on the screen, Christmas, Hanukkah, 4th of July, Valentine's Day, any of those holidays are also great hooks for readers. And Harlequin Heartwarming is also interested in stories with light mystery subplots as well. So bringing those tried and true tropes together with layered hooks and new twists is something that's always interesting to editors. I've put a cover on the screen here for a title called Her Amish Country Valentine by Patricia Johns. And, so this is a good example. So here we have the popular Amish theme built into a Valentine story. In this story, an advertising executive brings a fake boyfriend to her sister's Valentine wedding. And of course, you know what happens. So this is, an example of bringing a trope and a hook together in a great holiday read. Real life situations with intense emotions and high stakes are really compelling for romance readers. And also those real life situations and relatable characters are always popular, including books that that may bring in some of the tougher themes, potentially grief or loss, that can be very much part of characters' lives and help to drive that story that has that rewarding romance and happily ever after at the end of it. Any story with this many puppies on it can't be wrong. Romance stories that really bring that comforting, feel-good situation and settings to readers are always welcome. Real life situations with intense emotion and high stakes. Dogs, again, as you can see here, are very popular. So I just wanted to turn our attention for a few minutes to our website. I'm showing here the website header for writeforharlequin.com. And I just wanted to point out a few things and where you can find them. If you've been a romance fan for years, or maybe you've already written some romance stories, writeforharlequin.com is a great resource if you're looking to develop yourself as a potential Harlequin author. So what we have here, some examples of things on the site are information about our series. We have a step-by-step guide on how to submit. There is a blog where our editors offer writing advice and submission tips. And we also have video spotlights on each one of our series that go into more detail than I have today about what readers look for in those specific series and what the reader promise is in each of them. So if you want to find those videos, you can click on the navigation, how to submit, which is the purple circle in the middle of the screen, and then on what is Harlequin series that I've circled over on the left side of the screen. And that's where you'll find all those video spotlights. They're a really great resource if you're looking to familiarize yourself with what we publish and see potentially where your story or your voice might fit into our Harlequin series. We also have links to the writing guidelines for all of our Harlequin series and for Carina Press right on the website. And if you see up at the top right under that yellow circle, there's a Submit Now button, and that'll take you to harlequin.submittable.com. So on that website, you'll find the detailed writing guidelines for each one of our Harlequin series, for all of the imprints, romance imprints that we acquire for. And on that website, you can read all those writing guidelines. You can also submit your story directly to the line of your choice. You don't need an editor in order to do an agent in order to do that. You can submit your story directly to editors through harlequin.submittable.com. If you do have an agent, you're certainly welcome to submit through an agent. There are really two ways that you can do it, but we just want to let writers know that you don't have to have an agent in order to submit to us. Just want to mention the blog as well and show you the types of things that we have on the blog. So the blog has new content and blog posts that are written by our editors, either weekly or bi-weekly. So you can see here a blog post about popular trends in romance, what makes a thrilling story. So really great advice from our very experienced editors. We also have an I Got the Call column that we publish regularly, and these are written by authors who are new to Harlequin. And this is where they share their journey to becoming a published author. They talk about how they write and the steps that they went through to have their story acquired. So they're really inspiring stories. They're wonderful to read, and and interesting to learn from their experiences as well. One thing that we always recommend if you're looking to sort of understand or figure out where your story or style might fit is to go to tryharlequin.com. This is where you can download free books, and they're organized in those different sort of groupings that I discussed earlier in the presentation. So you can download those stories, you can read them, and we always recommend that writers do this so that they really have a good sense of the different situations, the tropes, the heat levels, the pacing, and the styles that go into each romance line. And you can really get a strong sense of what readers look for in those books as well. So I just want to thank you for watching this presentation. You may want to bookmark writeforharlequin.com so that you can find all the resources that I've just mentioned easily. We also have a newsletter that comes out monthly. It's called the Write for Harlequin newsletter. You can sign up for it right on our website. And that's a great source for news about submission calls, blitzes that we're having, which conferences that editors are attending or doing pitch sessions at. And we also have our I Got the Call stories and our blog posts as well. So it's a really easy way to keep on top of all of our news. And you can do that right on writeforharlequin.com. So thank you very much. I hope you found this informative, and keep writing. And if you decide to submit a story to Harlequin, we look forward to reading it. Thank you very much.